Hello and welcome to Thought for the Day for Saturday the 11th of July. My name's Pam Cribbin and today we're looking at Psalm 101 and I'll read the first few verses. I will sing of your love and justice. To you, Lord, I will sing praise. I will be careful to lead a blameless life. When will you come to me? I will conduct the affairs of my house with a blameless heart. I will not look with approval on anything that is vile. I hate what faithless people do. I will have no part in it. The perverse of heart shall be far from me. I will have nothing to do with what is evil. Whoever slanders their neighbour in secret, I will put to silence. Whoever has haughty eyes and a proud heart, I will not tolerate. When I first read this psalm, I wasn't sure about it. It seemed a rather strange psalm, where King David, who wrote it, was putting a lot of emphasis on himself and the good things he was doing, while judging others for what they were doing. This seemed to me to be the opposite of the story that Jesus told in Luke 19 about the Pharisee and the tax collector and their two different prayers. The Pharisee, who was the religious one, gave God a list of all his good points, and the tax collector, who was despised because of his profession, wouldn't even look up to heaven, but asked God to show him mercy. The point in Jesus' story was that the despised tax collector and not the religious Pharisee went home justified before God. So why does David's prayer look rather like the Pharisees? Why does it look as though he's trying to justify himself? Is that really what he's doing? First of all, let's look at why this psalm was written. It seems to have been an oath of allegiance made by David when he dedicated himself to be Israel's king. He was making promises about how he would behave as king, both living a life of integrity and protecting the people he was charged with looking after. This begins to put a different slant on it. We want leaders who act like this, right? And as well as wanting leaders who act with integrity, it's been said that we are all leaders to some degree. For many of us, we're leaders within our families, others in our workplaces, others among our neighbours. Whoever we interact with, we have some sort of influencing role. So perhaps this psalm does have something to teach us about how we interact with others. So what does David promise to do and not to do? First, he's going to strive to be blameless. As we know, he often fell far short of this, but he always had that aim, and when he fell, he asked for God's forgiveness and moved on. It's very comforting to know that we can do the same when we fail, no matter how many times we fail. Second, he promises not to look with approval on anything that is vile. This is something that rings true in our day and age. If David had to make an effort to avoid looking at anything vile, how much more do we, with so much unhelpful material instantly available to us on our phones and other devices? How often we hear sad stories of the downfall of people who didn't manage to avoid looking at vile images, resulting in their own lives as well as their families being destroyed. Let's heed David's warning to stay far away from such things. Others that he's going to avoid are those who are faithless and perverse. Who does he have in mind? Maybe those who abandoned the cause they're supposed to be working for, people who don't stick to what they've promised, people who are set on doing evil. At any rate, they're not going to be encouraging David to fulfill his role as a good king. Next comes those who slander their neighbours in secret. That one's perhaps a bit too close for comfort. How easy it is for any of us to join in with gossip, and maybe it happens more when we're with certain people than with others. David says he's going to put them to silence. I wonder if we have the courage to stand up for people instead of joining in with putting them down, if we're in a situation like that. The arrogant are another group he'll have nothing to do with, those who think they know it all, who are unteachable. Then in verse 7 there are those who practice deceit, who lie. It's pretty difficult to have a good relationship with someone if you never know if you're being told the truth, although of course there's always room for change and forgiveness if lies have been told in the past. Then finally we come to a more positive statement in verse 6. Who is he going to hang out with and spend time with? He describes these people as the faithful in the land. Their way of life is blameless. Well, we might think we don't know too many people whose way of life is blameless, But it's true that some people do have a much better influence on us than others. We leave some people's company or finish a phone call with them feeling encouraged and built up rather than drained. These are the people David plans to surround himself with, people who will help him grow and develop and who will be faithful to God and to him. Earlier this week there was a talk given by a local charity, Oakleaf, on looking after our mental health during the pandemic. One of the suggestions made was that we should connect with those who uplift us. Perhaps that's another way of expressing what David is saying here, and something that we can make a point of doing. So, this isn't a psalm about judging others and setting ourselves up above them. It's a psalm about choosing who we listen to and who we allow to influence and build us up, and who we might need to avoid if the relationship is really not helpful. It reminds us of the warning in the New Testament, bad company corrupts good character. With so much of our lives still far from normal, we need to make these wise decisions more than ever and aim to connect with positive and encouraging people. And there's the other side of the coin as well. Am I going to be that person for someone else, focusing on giving them the same hope and encouragement that I want to receive myself? Thank you.